Ms. Herman, we had the honor to listen to which group? Fort Washington Elementary Advanced Orchestra. Wow. Super. And Mr. Mack looks like he's the proud father. I mean, the proud principal. Parents, thank you for bringing your young men and women tonight to perform for us. Appreciate it. Another round of applause for Washington and Ms. Herman. Okay, well, thank you so much. We're going to just wait a minute until the orchestra mom and dads leave. They can always stay if they want to. We'll wait one more minute. So good evening and welcome. Welcome. Today is May 14th, 2018. This is the School District of Upper Dublin Board of School Directors Legislative Meeting. As we get closer and closer to the end of the year, I get more and more excited, not because it's the end of the year, but because of all the many amazing things that we do here in Upper Dublin to recognize our student achievement, our sports teams, all the awards are being recognized where some of our seniors are attending next year. So it's just, again, a very, very exciting evening for us. And we're also approving a new superintendent tonight, which is very, very special for Upper Dublin. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes after we do some of the other items earlier in the agenda. So again, a big welcome. And we would like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Ortiz, our assistant principal, are you here? Dan, would you lead us, please? Would everybody please stand? The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Ms. Evans, can we have a roll call, please?
Dr. Ludwig. Here. Mr. Sirota. Here. Mrs. Rothman. Here. Mrs. Good.
He's excused absence. Ms. Good.
Dr. Kim. Here. Mrs. Sherpier. Here. Mrs. Francek. Here. Mr. Ropsky. Here. Dr. Levinowitz.
Here.
All
okay.
present.
Well, here, okay. I'd also like to apologize to our Sandy Run Middle School and our principal, Jill Clark. Tonight on the calendar, if you look, is the National Junior Honor Society induction. There was not a conflict when we first put that on the calendar, But with the superintendent search and all the timelines that we had, we thought it would be wise for this meeting to occur tonight rather than last week. So that's why we have that conflict. Dr. Kim is going over to the Performing Arts Center to see his daughter Sophia being inducted. I know Ms. Francic also has a child being inducted tonight. And again, we congratulate all of the Sandy Run parents and the young men and women that are being inducted tonight. It's a great honor for them. Phil too? Another Sophia. I said Sophia. Two Sophias. Yeah, so we congratulate all of you. And I'm probably missing some others. So tonight for the Student Government Association report, we have double the fun, double the pleasure. We have two students tonight. And Ben, why don't you explain why we have two students and then hand it over. Ben has served as the student government representative this past year. He's moving on to bigger and better things. I don't know what could be bigger and better than this, Ben, but this is...
Well, that I am going to be heading our student government's community service committee instead of being the school board representative. Instead, that position will be taken up by my good friend Daniel Kaplan, who will be giving the report for tonight.
Mr. Kaplan, do you have a report for us?
Yes.
Proceed.
Thank you, Ben Helsner and Dr. Levinowitz. My name is Daniel Kaplan, and I am honored and thrilled to be here with you all for the upcoming year. Seniors have now left for community studies, and AP tests and the Keystones are well underway for the rest of the students. The Student Government Association has successfully elected a new steering committee with Rising Seniors President Eden Astorino, Vice President Mike Ryan, Activities Chairperson Lauren Taylor, Secretary Talia Kepnes, Treasurer Arden Solomon, School Improvements Chairperson Zach Rose, and Community Service Chairperson Ben Helsner. Also elected, incoming juniors, Policies and Procedures Chairperson Wusol John, Spirit Chairperson Gwen Hoffman, Information Communications Chairperson Sammy Haverson, and rising sophomores, myself, and underclassmen representative Leanna Long. The SGA has also completed yet another Kisses Senior Goodbye, where each senior homeroom received an appreciative Hershey Kisses for their seniors. It was also recently Staff Appreciation Week, where teachers, secretaries, crossing guards, and other staff members were shown appreciation through food platters and other gifts. On another note, the varsity boys volleyball team finished their season strong, winning their last game of the season. A congratulations also goes out to the indoor color guard team on winning their championship at the end of last month. In club news, this past Friday, Drama Club successfully hosted their annual banquet, and Theater 1 and Theater 2 are holding their showcases this upcoming Thursday. This past weekend was senior prom, where seniors' expectations were exceeded and the class of 2018 lit up with smiles. The seniors were brought together one last time to appreciate each other. With graduation quickly approaching, the seniors are getting ready to leave, while the juniors are just starting their college journey. The rest of the school is anticipating summer vacation, and the 8th graders are getting ready to start their high school experience. Thank you for all your time, and I look forward to being your new school board representative for the rest of the 2018 to 2019 school year.
Thank you, Daniel. Wow. I guess a requirement, Daniel, to be our student is to have not only excellent speaking skills, but also theater and being involved in the arts and the theater. So I know, Ben, you had an amazing season or year, I guess, in leading in many of the shows.
Many, yes.
Many, yes. Too many or?
No.
No, we're so proud of the shows that our theater department puts on, and getting updates from our students is great. Okay, we are moving on now to the superintendent's report. Dr. Wheeler.
Good evening. Because of the extensive agenda that we have this evening, I have only 2 items in my report. The first is to welcome Dr. Stephen Yanni, who is going to be our new superintendent of schools following my retirement. Dr. Yanni and I have had the opportunity to begin our transition, and I share the very positive feelings of the board regarding Dr. Yanni's professional experience, especially in the area of elementary education and guided reading practice. I trust that he will continue our work addressing equitable opportunities for all Upper Dublin students. So congratulations and welcome. And secondly, to build on that a little bit, I am very pleased to share that the recent U.S. News rankings of high schools, best high schools in the country, listed Upper Dublin High School as 28th in Pennsylvania. As our constituents know, for the past several years, Upper Dublin High School was not included on this ranking because of the lack of substantive achievement results for our students, particularly students identified in several of our subgroups. We have seen our recent achievement scores on the PSSA and on the Keystones increasing, and now we are once again ranked by U.S. News, providing additional evidence of our increasing academic achievement, and we are very proud of that. This is the result of the hard work that we have been doing in curriculum development, instructional practice improvement, improving our assessment practices that our teachers and our administrators have engaged in for the past several years. And I congratulate our faculty and administration along with our students and thank the board for supporting our purposeful efforts to provide rigorous opportunities, again, for all Upper Dublin students. So as I prepare to retire from the district, I can think of no better way to leave than to hand the baton to Dr. Yanni, knowing that our students are reaping the rewards of our hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. At this point, we will move on to presentations. We have student recognitions. We are recognizing 4 students tonight. Mr. Schultz, are you leading this, I assume? Let's get the mic to work, sir. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
So good evening, school board, administrators, community members, and thank you so much for the opportunity you've given us tonight for us to pay tribute to the excellence of our students in the areas of academics, service, and athletics. Along with their families and friends and our high school staff members, we cannot be prouder of our students who are being recognized tonight, and we're thrilled to be able to present them here at this legislative meeting. We have a military academy appointment, we have a full ROTC scholarship, we have a national award for excellence in service to the community, and we have a first of its kind state championship for Upper Dublin. This truly is a remarkable group of students, and thus it is quite a night. So to get started, the first student being recognized is Sabrina Taylor. Sabrina has gone through the rigorous process of first achieving a United States Service Academy congressional nomination and subsequently an appointment to the Air Force Academy. She will be presented by Lieutenant Colonel Phil Caldwell, an admissions liaison officer for the U.S. Air Force Academy, a pilot for the Air National Guard, and an Upper Dublin parent. So would that was awful. Would Sabrina and Lieutenant Colonel Caldwell please come forward?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Phil Caldwell. Dr. Levinowitz, Dr. Wheeler, Mr. Schultz, and we have a representative from Senator Toomey's office, Ms. Magdalena. Thank you all for coming here this evening, and most of all, thank you for Sabrina's extended community here in Upper Dublin. It is great to see all of you out here tonight. It is my pleasure this evening to represent the United States Air Force, and it is my privilege to present an appointment to the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. This appointment is going to a very deserving young woman and is the equivalent of a 4-year full-ride scholarship at a top-tier university. Appointments to the Air Force Academy are extremely competitive, with more than 10,000 students applying each year. Applicants must not only excel in academics, athletics, leadership, and service, they must also secure a nomination from a member of Congress, the Vice President, or the President of the United States. We accept only the best of the best. This year, of the over 10,000 applicants, we only accepted 1,160. So you can see how truly outstanding this young woman really is. These students will join the long blue line, becoming outstanding leaders of character in the world's greatest Air Force. To develop those leaders, our cadets take part in a wide variety of programs, including flying aircraft, free fall parachuting, competitive athletics, military training, and foreign exchange programs around the world. At the same time, they will attend classes ranging from aeronautical and electrical engineering to history and political science. At the end of 4 years, they will have a Bachelor of Science in their choice of 31 majors and will be commissioned as second lieutenants in the U.S. Air Force. For these cadets, the end of school is only the beginning, though. They will take the skills and knowledge they developed at the Air Force Academy and will serve in one of 38 Air Force officer career fields for the next 5 years while they continue to develop leadership and professional expertise. Graduates of the Air Force Academy have gone on to be Rhodes Scholars, titans of industry, politicians, generals, heroes, athletes, and astronauts. I can't wait to see what great things Sabrina will do. So without further ado, on behalf of the President of the United States, Sabrina Taylor is hereby appointed as a cadet in the United States Air Force Academy, class of 2022. Congratulations.
Wait a minute, Sabrina, you can't sit down just yet. Get back up there. Get back up there. There's a few things. I'll ask my colleagues to please sit. Sabrina, I've got to put you on the spot. I've known you I've known your family for many years, and I've seen you grow. And I'm going to put you on the spot, okay? Put you on the spot. Why the Air Force Academy? I know you had other options.
Yes. A couple of you know that I was also accepted to West Point. And it honestly came down to when I went to the Air Force for the second time. The people there were so welcoming, and a lot of them I could just tell wanted to be there. So that made my huge choice. And their values are just something that no other institution in the nation has.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. Now, wait. And I've known Mom and Dad, Officer Taylor, from many, many years. I don't want the community to think that we had security here today for this meeting. but Officer Taylor, who's been with the Upper Dublin Police for a number of years, I don't want to say how long, but you know, we are all so proud of Elena and Lee. Congratulations, and you should be. I'm sure I can see you smiling. So again, congratulations, a great, great, great honor. Now I'm going to ask you to come around the table and shake everyone's from down there. It's a $400,000. Thank you. Okay, again, we've asked any of her teachers, present or former, to stand. We thank you for the role that you've played in Sabrina's life. Okay. Whew. And again, thank you, Senator Toomey's office. Back there.
So our next honoree is Anthony Long. Just last week, we were notified that Anthony has received a 4-year Army Reserve Officers Training Corps full scholarship to Drexel University. We are very pleased to have with us tonight to present the award Recruiting Operations Officer Karen Fluck. So would both Anthony and Officer Fluck please come to the podium for the presentation.
Good Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm a former Army officer and a current Department of the Army civilian employee who was asked to come present a certificate to an Upper Dublin senior high school student who was conditionally selected to receive an Army ROTC scholarship. ROTC scholarships provide full college tuition or room and board up to $10,000 per year. They also provide an allowance for textbooks, school supplies, and required equipment. Adding it all up, you can see that this scholarship will go a long way toward meeting financial expenses associated with going to college. And we said you accepted a 4-year scholarship to Drexel University, which they've calculated as worth $229,000. But the really great thing about this scholarship is that when this student graduates, he will have more to show for his college days than just a diploma. He can have the confidence, self-discipline, and leadership skills that come with having earned a commission as an Army officer. ROTC is a demanding and challenging complement to traditional college courses. The standards for admission into this program are quite high, as they must be since the individuals who complete this training are to be ultimately entrusted with the lives of American soldiers. Anthony Long has met these high standards, and we are all proud of him. Be it known that Anthony Long, having achieved a meritorious record in academic studies, extracurricular participation, and athletic activities, and having demonstrated exceptional leadership potential as well as an expressed desire to serve as an officer in the United States Army, is conditionally selected for an Army ROTC scholarship. Headquarters, United States Army Cadet Command, this day of May 14th, 2018, signed, Major General, United States Army Commander, U.S. Army Cadet Command. Congratulations.
Anthony, do you have anything to say?
I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm very excited to be attending Drexel for the next 5 years.
Congratulations on behalf of everybody here tonight. Please come around and shake the hands of everybody up.
The Prudential Spirit of Community Awards Committee has conferred a Certificate of Excellence on Sam Kaplan, who placed among the top 10% of all the applicants in the entire state in this year's program. To present Sam as one of the top student volunteers in all of Pennsylvania, I welcome to the podium Prudential Representative Gabrielle Viscount and ask that she would please be joined by Sam Kaplan.
Hello. It's a great pleasure to be here today to honor a very special young man. My company, Prudential Financial, in partnership with the National Association of Secondary School Principals, sponsors the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards. This national program honors middle-level and high school students for outstanding volunteer service. The Spirit of Community program recognizes the top 10% of all applicants in each state with certificates of excellence. I'm delighted to report that one of this year's Certificate of Excellence recipients for Pennsylvania is your own Sam Kaplan. Sam co-founded Food for a Friend, an organization which aims to address food insecurity in suburban areas by visiting local schools and teaching children how to cook with bruised or damaged foods that are edible but would otherwise go to waste. Sam, to honor your accomplishments, I would like to present you with a certificate signifying your outstanding community service. On behalf of everyone involved in the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards, I congratulate you on a well-deserved honor.
You can break out in a song. I've known Sam for many years, and it's so great to see you up here tonight, Sam. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you again for the academic awards and also for activities and athletics. So again, congratulations, and please come around and shake the hands of administration and the school board. Congratulations, sir. Yes, they are brothers. You can tell by them shining each other. They are brothers. And Sam, best of luck. Sam, early decision at Brown University. I think we're all very proud of him.
Sam also started our musical program tonight at 7 o'clock by singing the lead-off song, so.
I figured that. I thought maybe he can entertain us.
Plus the blanket. Well, maybe I will, depending on how the night goes. So we're now going to switch, though, from academics and service to our student athletes. I don't know if I say this as impressively as it was, but never before in the history of Upper Dublin High School have we had a team play in a one-game winner-take-all state championship. And I should probably go a little bit further to say that they not only played in it, but they won the game. So to present our coaches and the members of that team, I now welcome to the microphone our very proud athletic director, Mr. Eric Greiner.
Before I get started, just a fun fact I thought I would share since we're just honoring Sam. I don't know if anybody realized this, but our Cardinal mascot was also Sam Kaplan this last 2 years.
I thought that was a secret.
Well, he's graduating and moving.
Okay, we can let it out. We can have the Cardinal out of the bag.
That's right. Well, good evening and thank you for this opportunity. In case you were wondering, this is a month earlier than I'm usually here, but tonight we have an extraordinary accomplishment that we would like to recognize our girls basketball team winning the PIAA 6A state championship. When you take time to reflect on everything they overcame, entering the state playoffs as a District 1 ninth seed and being the underdog each game throughout the playoffs, beating the District 12 champion, District 1 champion, and the District 1 runner-up along the way, this championship is definitely one for the storybooks. At this time, I'd like to invite our coach, Morgan Funston, who has been named not only the Southeastern PA, but also the PA Sports Writer 6A Coach of the Year, to the podium to tell us more about this tremendous state championship playoff run.
I could talk for days about this team, but I will limit it, I promise. First, I'd like to welcome Dr. Yanni to Upper Dublin. He actually stopped in my classroom today, and he heard my students profess their love of math. I'd like to thank Dr. Wheeler for the invitation tonight, and the entire school board. And Dr. Wheeler, you're going out as a state champion. You know that, right? Dr. Levinowitz, who's arguably our #1 fan, I will forever have ingrained in my mind when you watch the video of our game. There was a big-time foul shot made in the championship game, and the joy of the excitement and the Dr. Levinowitz double pump, fist pump. I will forever remember that. I'd like to thank Mr. Schultz and the entire administration. You know, they came out to the game in Hershey, and they've always been so supportive. So thank you, Mr. Schultz and the entire administration. Mr. Greiner and his family are some of our biggest fans. So, you know, 6 years ago, I applied for the job, and there were a lot of really good candidates, and I think Mr. Greiner took a chance on me, so I appreciate that. I'd like to thank the community, a lot of familiar faces, you know, sitting at school board members, community, teachers, fellow coaches. I know several coaches changed their practice schedule so their athletes could come attend the state championship game, and it just made it that much more special of a day. I'd like to thank the students, especially the UD Broadcasting Club, who, once again, you know, they went above and beyond for our program and our girls, and we're very appreciative of everything they did for us. I'd like to thank my assistant coach and JV coach, Monica Newman, who has been there with me since day one. And we did it, Mon. We did it. And finally, most importantly, no offense to the rest of you who were just thanked, the players, who they're the ones who did it, and their belief in each other and their belief in what we do is really why we're able to accomplish what we accomplished. Just a quick little comment about our season. We returned 3 starters from our team last year. We had a rough first game of the year. You would probably describe our team as a young team. And what's interesting about the first game of the season, we played 32. I won't go through all of them, but I could. I mean, but at the end of the first game of the season, who happened to be against CB South, the team that we beat in the state championship game, we were extremely positive. We had a tough game. We lost, but I think we proved that we could, play with anybody. Just a little more about our season. The low point on our season happened in January. We lost a game to our big rival in our league, PW, in double overtime. A girl made a bank shot out close to half court at the buzzer, and only to be outdone less than 24 hours later, we lost in triple overtime. So that was a tough 24 hours, but I think it went a long way in developing our team to be a mentally tough team, and it paid dividends down the stretch. We finished the regular season at 18-4. We entered district playoffs as the 9 seed, and we happened to finish in 9th place. We entered state, and we had to win our last 3 games in district playback games to enter the state playoffs. And we went up against the team who had ended our season the previous year in Cardinal O'Hara, and we know how difficult it is to compete with some of these private schools. And I think they're still in shock that we were able to beat them. We beat them in double overtime. And the run we went on in state playoffs was extremely magical. The last 6 games of the year, we were losing in the second half of all 6 games, and to be able to pull them out says so much about what our girls learned throughout the course of the season and really what they're made of. And this team was a team in every sense of the word, in that out of our last 6 games, we had 4 different leading scorers out of those 6 games. I mean, typically, you may have one girl who does a lot of the scoring, a second girl who can do it, but to have 4 different leading scorers in the last 6 games, the biggest 6 games of the season, just says so much about how these girls believed in each other and how balanced of a team we were. And being as balanced of a team, we also, you go on a run like this and you end up getting a lot of individual recognition, and there was certainly a lot of individual recognition. And I feel like I need to, point out some of the really great honors that our girls received. Our 2 senior co-captains, Maggie Weglow, she earned 2nd team all-conference, all-suburban 1. Nicole Kaiser, for the 2nd consecutive year, made 1st team all-league. We had freshman Dana Balaza. She made 3rd team all-league, and she also finished 2nd in all of southeastern Pennsylvania as a freshman with 73 3-point shots made. Jess Poland, who is another freshman, she earned 2 different Freshman of the Year awards in southeastern Pennsylvania, and that encompasses 185 different schools. So you're talking some very high recognition there. And last but certainly not least, and she's got the longest list of accomplishments here, at least individual recognitions at the end of the year, sophomore Jackie Vargas, who was named to the 1st team All-League. She was named to 5th team All-Southeastern PA. She was named to 2nd team. USA Today does an all-state team, and private schools are included. All classifications are included and all thrown into one big pool of players. And she made 2nd team. I mean, there's 708 schools that play basketball in Pennsylvania, girls basketball teams, and she was named to the 2nd team, which is absolutely remarkable. And the last honor was she also earned 1st team All-State for 6A classification. So it was a really incredible season. What made it so special is, the adversity we went through during the regular season and even in playoffs, and just to see how the girls grew throughout the year and trusted each other and believed in each other, that really great things can happen. And I want to thank the girls one more time and thank the community for all their support. At this time, I'm going to call up the players who are here. There's actually several girls who are at basketball practice, at AAU basketball practice. So they're making sure that we can maybe make this,
What a shock.
yeah, make this a more than 1 year visit. So we'll start with, let's start with the coach. Let's start with assistant coach, Monica Newman. Come on up, Monty. Freshman Sarah Eskew. Freshman Dana Blaza. Where's your trophy? Dana and Sarah were in charge of the trophy. They've been holding it ever since it was given to us on March 27th.
The seniors need to bring it up. The seniors.
Oh, the seniors, okay. Sophomore Jackie Vargas. I'll introduce you guys together, it looks like. Seniors Nicole Kaiser and Maggie Weglos. Do you have a question and answer for us, Dr. Levinowitz?
Well, I went to just about every district game, and it was good because we were always down by 9 or 8 points at the half, and I figured this is good because we're going to come back. The most nervous I was is when we were up at the half, and that was difficult against Abington, I believe.
Abington, yeah, it's Southerton also.
Yeah, but Abington was especially a challenge when they came back and really thought that we were going to lose that game. And because of the young ladies and some of the shooting, I think Abington thought they had that game. So it was very exciting. So at the state game, some of us were able to get pins that enabled us access to the floor during the game. So I have my pin. I'm wearing that pin tonight. And I just want to thank all of our ladies for making the season so unforgettable. You forgot one person.
Miss B?
Yes, we need to bring up Miss B too, because
sorry,
without
Katie
her.
Katie Bartosz.
Katie Bartosz, our athletic trainer. I always embarrass Katie B. If it wasn't for her. Katie B. Yeah. You know, and we talk about Monica Newman. Monica Newman, I remember watching Monica Newman play on the court. An amazing ball player, class of 06, 2006. I remember watching her, and she had game. She had game, and she still has game. And she's now working at the high school, which is a beautiful thing that you can come back and teach the many skills that you have, both academically, and athletically to our future generation of students. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so now I'll stop talking. I'm sorry. Come around, shake hands. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. There's some more cupcakes, I believe, and then we will continue with a presentation by our business manager, and then to the agenda. Thank you. 5 minutes.
This has been pushed back a little far.
We are back. I'd like to call the meeting back to order.
Yeah.
Okay, we are up to our second presentation, which is the 2018-2019 proposed final budget by our business administrator, Ms. Brenda Bray. Just to announce to the board that we are experiencing some technical difficulties on our board docs. It's not us, it is board docs, so if it's not running, if you can't access anything, just go back to the paper. There's always going to be paper. Okay, Ms. Bray.
Thank you very much. It's always very difficult to follow such a dynamic presentation and our students, a basketball team and everything, and then go to a budget presentation. But anyway, it's part of that time of year, and we're getting close to the finish. Tonight the board will approve a proposed final budget. But before we get to that, we're looking at May. PDE notifies school districts of funds available for property tax relief, and then the Montgomery County Assessor's Office provides certified report on number of homesteads. Our amount of property tax relief this year was $2,495,338.46 to get right down to it, which is an increase, and we'll see that a little bit more later on. Again, board legislative meeting tonight. Board will approve the proposed final budget for 2018-19. Now, because of the way the calendar falls, in 3 days we will be meeting again with the Finance Committee to continue our discussion, and more about that a bit later. Under Act 1, we have to have the proposed final budget in PDE approved format of the PDE 2028 available for public inspection no later than May 25th. I expect that we'll have it out far earlier than that date. In June, on June 4th, we need to advertise the intent of the board to pass the 2018-19 final budget on June 14th. And again, on June 14th, will be the final action for next year's budget. I will note that we probably will not have an idea about the Commonwealth budget funding at that point in time, but yet our local school board must act. I'm going to hit, thank you. Perfect. And PDE 2028 will be filed with the PDE, and the tax rates also have to be filed with DCED. Everyone probably has seen this not less than 7 or 8 times during the budget process, but most recently, as of April 9th, we were projecting a fund balance of $4.5 million. And you'll note that when we come back around to this after some revisions, that it's going to be slightly higher than that, about $355,000. Taking that balance forward, we start looking at what's going to happen for the following year with the 2018-19 budget. And you'll note that total revenue and the total expenditures as of last month, April 9th, at our last legislative meeting, yielded approximately a fund balance of $1,090,000. In the budget, again for next year, we were planning on transferring $1,458,000 to our capital reserve fund. We've been doing that for a few years. Next year, we will continue to do that, although we plan to use that money to fund Sandy Run Middle School construction. Current revenue, as of this point in time, included, or actually as of last month, included tax revenue increase at the Act 1 increase of 2.4%. You'll see that we've dropped that. And at that point in time, we were showing about a 5.5% increase in expenditures year to year. So now we're going to look at the changes over the last month. And revenues are always very straightforward. If you decrease a revenue, if a revenue goes down, just like at home, if your salary or income goes down, your savings account or the fund balance changes or decreases at the end of the year. Conversely, if you have an increase, you have more revenue coming in, then your fund balance or savings account will increase. But when we look at expenses, it's the inverse. So if you have a decrease, if you spend less money, you're going to have more money at the end of the year. And if you increase those expenditures, you will have less money at the end of any given year. Estimated fund balance at April 9th, again, $4.5 million approximately. We're expecting real estate real estate taxes to be higher than about $350,000. That's current real estate taxes. We're not exactly sure what that might mean with delinquent taxes. So the business office will be looking at that over the next month. Because it appears that we are collecting a larger percentage of our taxes in the current year, maybe increasing that percentage from 97 to 98%. Transfer taxes, we've taken a look at that. They're down from previous years. And with really only 2 months left to go, we want to pull that number back $100,000. On the other hand, interest, as we all know, is increasing. And we anticipate that we're going to be closer, up $175,000, and that's for the current year. So obviously we're going to have an increase for 2018-19 as well. So overall revenue adjustments for the current year are $425,000. The downside, and we're going to touch on this a few times, but we're not nearly as impacted as some school districts around us, but the charter school tuition situation and the calculation of that. Mrs. Clegg has been very helpful in helping us assess that change and has even talked to the board that we've had a number of students enrolled during the year. So we're anticipating another $70,000 for the current year. All in, all said, for the current year, we're anticipating the fund balance to be at $4.8 million as of June 30th, 2018. Now, we pulled that extra $355,000 forward and carry it forward to the next year. As of July 1st of 2018, that becomes a new fiscal year. Last month, the board approved an assessment appeal in the Fort Washington Office Park, 1301 Virginia Avenue. The assessed value will result in approximately not approximately, at the current year's millage rate, at $162,575. Reduction in the tax rate after discussion at last month's Finance Committee. We have reduced the tax increase from 2.4 to 2.14%. And I bet we'll be discussing that again on Thursday night at Finance Committee for May. There's a slight adjustment for the assessment value change. What I mean by that is the assessment changes every time we do an iteration of the budget, and so we've made that small change here. Property tax relief, that's just an in and out. It's an account change. As you can tell, the net impact is zero. Real estate adjustments, I'll continue with those. Transfer tax, as I said earlier, we're anticipating that being down. For the current year, we've carried that assumption forward for next year. Interest income, we'd already planned that number would be greater for next year, but we're still stretching at another $150,000, expecting the Fed to increase rates in June and maybe as much as 2 other times. And then you will notice that we have a small decrease in our FICA and PSER subsidy, and we'll get to the reason for that in a moment. Remember, the Commonwealth shares 50% of our PSERs and FICA expenditures. So total revenue adjustments for next year, approximately $324,000. The fun part, we finally have some retirements. And working with Mr. Sigafus, we've had 2 in regular ed, and we've had some, 1 in a guidance service, as well as one of our librarians have retired. So we have savings based on our assumptions of approximately $250,000. Last Finance Committee meeting and board meeting, we've been discussing the need to increase special education by 0.6 FTE. Mrs. Clegg was here to explain the reason for that. And so that additional FTE will cost us approximately $65,000. Gifted is also in the same situation. So in essence, we've added one full-time equivalent, one FTE, and that has added to our expenditures of $101,000. You may recall that we had just received good news last April about, no, excuse me, I think it was in time for the Finance Committee, that our fourth look from the Bucksmont Consortium was yielding good news of $106,000 for us. So that's now been included. And again, looking at regular ed charter schools, or actually just charter schools in general, we think that we may be spending upwards close to $400,000 next year for charter school tuition. In my tenure here in Upper Dublin, that's almost close to twice the amount that we've spent in previous years. Hoping that perhaps that number's high, but Director of People Services in the business office continues to work on that. So, after all of those changes and iterations, we are looking at fund balance on June 30th of 2019 of approximately $1.2 million. Again, approximately $355,000 more than what it was on April the 9th. And again, we're just talking about highlighting it. You will note on this particular page that the expenditures actually are slightly under revenues, a very positive thing, and that doesn't count the transfers. We've had $3.7 million worth of transfers, and we'll be discussing on Thursday night perhaps transferring another $250,000 and maybe another $450,000. Maybe not to capital projects this time. We might want to discuss debt service. And again, looking forward where we are tonight for the 2018-19 year, you'll notice the expenditures, how they've been totaled. Again, the $1,458,000, what we've referred to as debt fall off a number of years ago, that we have been saving, again, for our Sandy Run project. Stepping back from the budget itself, let's look at property tax reduction a bit, comparing 18-19 to 2017-18. Not all districts around us are as fortunate as what we are. We actually received, by property tax exclusion standards, a bit of a bump again this year. We had $45,000 more in allocation from the state, and the number of properties dropped by a few, and therefore our assessed value and our total reduction is up for each one of the property owners of qualified properties within Upper Dublin. Things to consider, again, I already spoke of it, the transfer of the budgetary reserve, perhaps $250,000 we may want to discuss. Maybe we will want it to stay in the general fund. Another transfer of about $450,000, again, to be discussed. We've had a few more sabbaticals come in than what we knew about in April, so I'm kind of keeping that in mind. The deadline for spring sabbaticals, I think there still may be a few of those coming in. Mr. Sigafus and I will firm that up before Thursday night. Negotiations with our support staff, UDESPA, continue. As I mentioned early on, uncertainty of 18-19 funding from the Commonwealth. Charter school tuition, I believe I've hit plenty hard. Assessment appeals, I mentioned 1301, 1300, sister assessment building. We're expecting to have similar results in that. There are a few others that we are expecting to trend down. However, there is at least one appeal that may be a positive note for us. And we continue to review estimates. We've been looking at things such as operations. I looked at Mr. Lester and all the snow we had in March. We had to go back and take a look at those, as well as transportation. So we will continue to review estimates for the current year and next year based on the current. This is just a slide left from actually last Finance Committee meeting in April. It'll be updated. You will note that we were talking about tax increase differences, what would happen to the general fund, how we would decrease revenues if each one of the various tax increases were selected. Obviously, this time at 2.14, we're in between the 2.19 and the 2.09.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bray. Other questions from the board? We'll start off with the board. Anybody to my left? All right?
Okay.
No questions. And just to reiterate that we are right now, all of your amounts using the assumption of a 2.14 tax increase, which is below the 2.4 Act 1 index, and there will be further discussion. I know there's
Thursday night.
Right, I know there's some of us on the board that are strongly looking at an increase lower than the 2.14. Okay, Sarah, Ms. Rowe? Sarah?
Thanks, Art. Brenda, looking at the packet, I know that when we look at the fund balance and what's projected and what we have, I know that underneath you always say what we have as a committed fund balance. And this marks it, or you marked it as about 3.1 million for the assessment appeals combined with the rate stabilization fund.
That is correct.
And then that doesn't include, of course, what we have in our capital projects fund as well as the debt service, and that's found within the packets. And it looks like for capital projects, we have set aside right now 7.8 million and 2.5 million for debt service.
That is correct.
Great.
As of, those numbers are as of April 30th. We do have a couple of payments that the board will be approving for the architect and some other things, but essentially those amounts are accurate.
Right. And I think I recall from a few years ago, we didn't have a rate stabilization fund whatsoever, so that was something that was created a couple of years ago, and it was initially funded at about half of what it currently is. Well, initially I think it was 600,000, and then it was bumped up to $1 million something, and now it's at 2.1. And what we've done is add to all these funds in the last couple of years in a way we didn't have any sort of fund balance to what it is currently.
That's absolutely correct.
Great, thank you.
And we'll continue to review those on Thursday evening as well.
Great, thanks.
And just to piggyback off of that, this for projected fund balance for 18-19, 1.2 roughly?
At this point in time, yes.
Right, and if we would go back in time and look at the same projection for previous years, significantly lower.
Yes, it's due to conservative budgeting, and actually one of the things that's on our agenda for Thursday evening, it will be the review of our bond rating that they do on an annual basis. And conservative budgeting is considered to be a good thing. Last year, we really landed pretty close to our expenditures. For all of you that remember all these riveting budget presentations last November, we talked about we were close within $900,000 of expenditures, but last year we had a lot of positive revenue that came in due to development of about $3 million.
And positive revenue is a good thing. I mean,
it's always a good thing.
We want to budget conservatively so that we're never less than we anticipate, and always, to some degree, more conservative budgeting. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you. We look forward to Thursday night, 6 o'clock. We'll have our operations, followed by finance, and we'll go into the updates and the projected tax increase again that night, on Thursday night. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are up to community input. Community input. Kindly step up to the podium. If you think you would like to participate tonight, just try to get to the back so that we're not waiting for the next speaker. And state your name and where you reside in the township. And as board policy, we limit community input to 4 minutes. There will be another community input at the end of the night.
Joe Koenig, Director. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I couldn't pass it up. 2 comments. One is, or maybe more than 2, but one is the charter cyber school tuition. I know a couple meetings ago there were apparently 18 students this year in it. Apparently that's going up. I might, and this is me, I'm talking out of, I want to say ignorance because I don't understand the situation. I might want to survey the parents that are currently using cyber charter schools and find out why they're not interested in using public school. Perhaps there's a way that we can convince them to come back. Maybe we can satisfy some of their disappointments, whatever they are. But without communicating to them, we won't know why they're leaving. And this is obviously an expenditure cost, and it costs us all. Homeschooling doesn't really cost us anything, and the township allows those students to participate. But apparently this is a negative effect on the budget. So that was the first thing. The second thing is my cynical side. I've been coming to these meetings for over 10 years, and never has the fund balance been at or below the projected amount. Usually it's 2, 3, 4 times higher. So the $1 million projected for next year is probably a very conservative number. And it's basically, with all due respect to the board, our tax dollars being taken from us. Another point on that is I had asked about a year ago to find out what the reserve amounts are, and I was told it's in the budget, it's available online. I couldn't find it, or at least I didn't look hard enough. My question is, at what point in time do you feel that the reserve accounts are fully funded and there's no need to put more money in it, or are you actually taking money out from year to year to level out things? Because obviously, I don't know whatever happened with the Lower Merion lawsuit, but they were sued for, over-reserving. I think that was the net effect of their lawsuit. I don't know what happened, and I'm not accusing you guys of doing that, okay, far from it. So that was my points. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Okay. If there is anyone else, just kindly step up to the back. Thank you, Mr. Swan.
I don't know if I'm going to reach this. My name is Sonny Gross. I've been a resident of Upper Dublin for 52 years. I also am a realtor for 39 years. And as I look around our township, it really worries me because I see what is happening here has happened in other townships where the taxes have been so high that nobody wants to move to those areas. And as a result, magnificent homes are being sold below market value. I'm assuming that when this happens, you get less tax dollars. I know that someone said to me, I'd like to see something in Upper Dublin. And when I sent him the paper on it, he looked at it. He said, the home looks great, I can afford it, but I'm not paying those taxes. This is what's happening in Upper Dublin. And I'm sure you're aware of it, and I know that I'm not the first person that said this. But seeing it firsthand as a realtor for so many years, I think you really need to pay attention to it, because if our home values go down, yours go down as well. And it just makes no sense. So thank you for your time.
As we Presbyterians say, amen.
Please do not call out. Okay. Mr. Swan?
Dr. Levinowitz, members of the board, Dr. Wheeler and Dr. Yanni. Just a quick congrats to the students and their accomplishments and the recent art show, the last week's band, choral, and orchestra concerts. A welcome to Dr. Yanni. Where he comes from, he's used to excellence in his recent post with his district. And I'm sure there'll be challenges with coming budgets. But you come into a good district. They've made a commitment now for the Sandy Run Middle School. They recognize the importance of STEM education throughout K through 12. Plus, at the new middle school, they're reiterated a number of times their commitment to a planetarium, which is really important at that age, but particularly for young women who, sometimes at that point start to lose interest in science, technology, but with having a planetarium there, gives a full, well-rounded science background. Also, something I had mentioned to the board last year, you're probably not aware of it yourself, but this coming not this coming, a year from now in July, related to science and technology. There's a big solar eclipse happening through South America, going through Chile, an excellent opportunity for Spanish culture, language, and related stuff, plus earth sciences studies. And I had given something to the board a number of months ago. I have an extra copy if you'd be so kind to accept it. May I?
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Seeing none, we will close community input. One question about cyber charter schools. I do know that there are some districts in the state that start their own cyber charter schools. I believe Centennial may have one and some other districts. But Ms. Clegg, do you want to respond to that?
Mr. Koenig, I share in your curiosity as to why we have students exiting public education for the cyber school experience. We can ask families, but they are not obligated to tell us why they decide to choose that learning path. In conducting an analysis of the 18 folks that are, students that are out in cyber charter experiences, I can tell you 5 of the students have never even entered the school district. So out of the 18, 5 of them didn't really try our public school. So oftentimes folks just really want that type of learning, and it isn't at the fault of the district or the programs that we have to offer. And looking at the analysis of the other students, and again, we do have 3 graduating this year, so that will impact our budget. The other students that remain really exited mid-year. If you look at kind of a pattern, I was looking at patterns, they tend to leave in either the late fall or winter months. And I do see a pattern of the middle school, high school transition when that occurs. So, I wouldn't want to speculate why that transition occurred in mid-year, but that's the information that we have at this time. We have 2 students out of the 18 that are special ed, the other 16 are regular ed, and 15 are female. So it's heavier on the female side than males as far as the charter cybers.
I think we will continue to look at that, Joe. I think it's a very good point in terms of how do we get the kids back into our buildings. What can we do? Is it wise to partner with another district and perhaps do our own cyber education program? We do.
Yeah, that's already good.
Okay. I've just been told that we already have. So, Mr. Russo.
Yeah, the Montgomery County, Chester County, there's already I think Delaware County, there's already a cyber school operated. It's called the 21st Century Cyber School. So the public school districts are already collaborating on that.
Okay. The fund balance, why we're conservative with tax dollars. Ms. Brady, you want to address the question about fund balance? This question is asked, I think, often.
Just one of the first things I want everyone to know, that since I've been here 1 year, and I'm in my 10th year, 1 year we pulled down $2.7 million of fund balance. That's a significant change in 1 year. That is, our fund balance decreased by that amount. We've had other years where we've had close or nearly flat fund balance, and I would be more than happy to go over that information with anyone. When Act 1 of 2006 came into being, school districts could no longer make budget changes or tax increases to help or fund the next year's budget. And since that point in time, we've really had to look at 3 to 5 years with what how we're funding, and be thinking about expenditures and revenues as well. I guess the last point that we might want to address as to when enough is enough. If you've come to the meetings, you'll know that we have a lot of needs at our elementary schools, and so we are planning to address those needs in the future as well. I can't give you a dollar amount. Certainly in the general fund, with the budget of our size, we are capped at 8% of uncommitted, unrestricted fund balance.
Does anybody else want to follow up on that? Mr. Sirota, I thought so.
Couple things. One was the question of what is the budgetary reserve? It's the $250,000 that Brenda mentioned in her presentation. Has been for a number of years the amount that we put in budgetary reserve. As to at what point are reserve funds fully funded, we do have one reserve fund, the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund, that actually does have an answer for that. It's approximately 3 months of expenses, right? 6 months of expenses. And we're not there yet with that particular fund. But the other funds, and they're not all exactly the same sort of fund, but there's a capital reserve fund that doesn't, there's no real cap on that. It's based on what we think we're going to need in future years, and we're trying to build that up because we know we have needs in future years. And then there's a debt service fund, which also doesn't have to my knowledge, there's no correct number for that sort of fund.
Okay, thank you. There was a question, Lower Merion was brought up, and Mr. Roos can speak about that.
The question was asked, well, I guess the reference was made to the Lower Merion budget lawsuit. First of all, that case is on appeal before the Supreme Court. The briefs aren't even due yet. There will not be a decision from that court anytime soon, certainly not in 2018. And even if there is a decision, one outcome would be to get it sent down to the intermediary court, and that would be another couple of years. That case I don't expect to be resolved for a while. Even if it doesn't matter because it wouldn't apply to Upper Dublin. That case had to deal with a tax increase above the index. That's what the judge said. He didn't question. He actually upheld the right of Lower Merion School District to tax to the index, even though the fund balances in that case were the disparities between projected and actual fund balance in that case were much more greater than they are in this case.
Does anybody wish to respond to Ms. Gross regarding the tax increases, the concerns that she has for tax increases, homes being sold for below market value, and we need to pay attention to it? Mr. Sirota, okay.
There, generally, yeah. I mean, as you said, I'm not sure where you're sitting, but thank you. Yeah, other people have said that before. You're right. It is something we need to pay attention to, and we are. There was one thing in there that when the homes sell for less, we get less tax revenue. The tax revenue is based on the assessed value, not on the sale value for residences specifically. And those are set by the county periodically. It's not tied to sale value. So that's not true that we get less tax revenue when the home value drops from residential properties. We do get less in transfer tax. Yes, that's correct. Thank you, whoever said that. But we don't. But we do get the same amount in regular real estate tax.
Okay, and I believe the third community input was basically comments. Thank you, Mr. Swan. Any other comments from the board regarding community input tonight? Seeing none, we will move to the agenda items tonight's legislative meeting. We'll begin with announcements or communications. Are there any, Ms. Bry?
There are none this evening.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. Any minutes?
5 sets of minutes.
5 sets of minutes. 5 minutes.
That I would ask the board to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have 5 sets of minutes tonight. We had a first and a second. Any comments, questions, edits? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bray. Okay, we are moving forward to the motions tonight. We're going to move up to the personnel items. Before I ask Amy to make the first motion for personnel, let me just speak a little bit about the process that we used, or the process that we used when we search for our new superintendent, Dr. Yanni. The first thing we did back in January is that we released an RFP, and we interviewed 4 or 3 firms. Help me, board. 4 firms. We selected. It was clear in our minds that the Chester County IU was far superior in terms of the product that they delivered and the process that they followed. So we went with the CCIU, and just another statement about the quality of the work that they do. We have 2 of the representatives that worked with us through the entire process here tonight. Dr. Ian Strachan is here tonight. Ian, thank you. And Ms. Mary Curley. Ian is the Director of Human Resources at the Chester County IU, and Mary, Director of Communications. Okay, so again, we'd like to thank them. They were just 2 of the individuals that worked with us a very intense period of time. And for them, it's a very proud moment when they come to a board meeting and see the process come to a very, very successful close. So we've had a number of press releases as we went through the process. And the most recent one announced Dr. Steve Yanni as our superintendent. There was a bio also as part of the press release. Let me just very briefly, in case you're unfamiliar with Dr. Yanni, what stuck out in my mind for Dr. Yanni is some of the recognitions that he received while being a student and being an educator early on in his career. Let me just briefly talk about some of that. When he was still an education major at University of Pittsburgh, he was identified as the most outstanding education major in 2002. In 2003, he graduated summa cum laude from the University of Pittsburgh. In his first or second year as a teacher, in 2004, the Bessemer City Central Teacher of the Year as a brand new teacher. He was Teacher of the Year. He then graduated summa cum laude from Immaculata University in some of his graduate work, and Phi Delta Kappa identified him as an emerging leader in 2014. And then for his dissertation, Northeastern Association of Graduate Schools Dissertation Recognition Award. So I'm not going to touch on what his degree, where he taught or all that, but I think some of the stuff you may not know is his awards, his honors and his awards. And just by reading that, we were extremely impressed with Dr. Yanni. And we are now going to move to Amy Francic, who will do the motion for superintendent.
Great. It's my pleasure. Are we off? Okay. It is my pleasure to make a motion to approve the appointment of Dr. Stephen Yanni as the next superintendent of schools of the School District of Upper Dublin, with a contract that will commence on July 1st, 2018. And do I have a second?
Okay, we had a first, we had a second. Any comments from the board? I know this has been a very long process, very time-consuming for the board, but I think it was all worth the time that we put into this process or process. Sarah.
Thanks, Art. So it's been a very intense couple months, I guess. But I am thrilled that Dr. Yanni found us and that we found Dr. Yanni. A heartfelt thank you to the CCIU. This process was outstanding. I was in the process when we selected Dr. Wheeler, and I believe that the process, the guidance that you gave was superior to the process we used last time, even though I'm happy with the selection of Dr. Wheeler. But the search firm we used, it was much less painful for us with the interviews. And I believe that Dr. Yanni is an amazing fit for Upper Dublin, and we're a great fit for him. And I know when we were looking for the right superintendent, it's not just about someone who checks off the boxes. It is this personality that's going to be used to inspire our students, to inspire our community, and our staff, both our administration and our teachers. And I see all of those traits in Dr. Yanni. So I am extremely excited to work with him, and welcome to Upper Dublin.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Anyone else on the board? Okay, seeing none, we have a first, we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, it was unanimous. You're still in your seat, Dr. Yanni. You haven't left. You haven't left. So would you like to say a few words, sir?
I would just like to thank the board for the confidence that they've placed in me to lead the district as your next superintendent. And it was a great day here in the district. I had the chance to meet a wide variety of people. I don't know many names at this point. But I really am looking forward to being a part of the School District of Upper Dublin and charting a new course. I thank Dr. Wheeler. We've already started our transition, and she's been very helpful. And of course, thank you to the Board of Directors and to the CCIU for running a very comprehensive search. They definitely put their candidates through the paces, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. Thank you. Dr. Strachan, do you have anything to add? Anything you'd like? You have to come up to the microphone, sir. And you have to use that one word.
Just the one word. I just want to thank the board. You really worked incredibly hard. It is a lot of work, and you put in a lot of time and effort, and I think you came up with an excellent superintendent. So you stuck with the process. I'm proud of you for doing that, and I thank you for all your hard work. It really did pay off dividends, so thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, CCIU. We followed the process. Okay, we have one more motion that we're moving up tonight. And Ms. Amy?
All right. Now I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Daniel Ortiz, an Upper Dublin alumnus, as assistant principal at the Upper Dublin High School, effective July 1st, 2018. Second?
For a second. Okay, we have first and second. Comments? Okay. Anyone? No. Well, let me speak for Dan's. Dan was with the School District of Upper Dublin before he went on over to Centennial and then to Springfield, Montgomery County. But we all knew that what he was getting experience for was for his return engagement here at the School District of Upper Dublin. I think it was his dream to continue his career here at Upper Dublin. I remember his dad very well. I saw him at the baseball game the other day, and he was in his joy. He was so happy to know that you're coming back to where you belong, Dan. So on behalf of all the school board, congratulations, and we look forward to many years serving, again, the School District of Upper Dublin. Okay, we had a first and a second. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Dan, I'd like to give you the opportunity if you want to come and say a few words.
So thank you very much, first and foremost, to the board and to Dr. Wheeler for allowing me the opportunity to return to Upper Dublin. As you said, it was always a dream to fulfill the rest of my career here, and my career path took a little bit of a detour, but we ended up in the right spot. So thank you very much for that, Dr. Wheeler. I appreciate the guidance when I first got into administration, and I wish you the best in retirement, Dr. Yanni. I look forward to working with you as well. Mr. Schultz and the rest of the administrative team at the high school, it's one of the top administrative teams in the state, and I really look forward to learning from you and from the rest of your team and hopefully contributing something back. You know, I started teaching at Upper Dublin for the first 9 years of my career, and it's a teaching staff that I would put up there with any of the rest in the Commonwealth. So I'm thrilled. I have deep roots here. You might have seen my son kind of running around outside. He's a kindergartner in our schools as well. And so as a graduate, a resident, and now back as an administrator, I couldn't be more thrilled to rejoin Upper Dublin. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. And it is a small world. I understand that your wife is a teacher, and she teaches at?
So she used to teach at New Hope Soulberry School District as a health and PE teacher, and that's where I got the first of many great reviews from a lot of different people about Dr. Yanni, and she's now doing the best job of them all and working with my two sons. But she loved working with Dr. Yanni at New Hope.
Super. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Okay. We will now go through the agenda from the top. I'll try to remember we did those two personnel items. We will start off with the Education Committee curriculum recommendations. Good night, those people leaving.
I'll give you a few minutes to
Thank you.
transition. Okay, so there's a number of motions within education. Items B through K, we had discussed at the Education Committee, so I will take those all at once. I move we approve them all.
Okay, I'm sorry. My screen is frozen, which I think. Okay. You motions to approve all.
B through K.
Okay, B through K.
And there's a second?
For a second? Who's the second? Teacher? Okay. Items B through K on the curriculum. Any first and a second? Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Moving on to Education Committee Technology
Well,
recommendation.
there's a couple more, so.
I'm sorry, LM.
L is new, we haven't discussed that. For this one, I move we approve a request by Upper Dublin High School's Future Business Leaders of America, the FBLA, students in grades 9 through 12 to travel by rental bus to Baltimore, Maryland, to participate in the academic competition at the National Leadership Conference. That will be at the end of June into July. The cost to the district for one teacher chaperone is approximately $1,435.
Okay, motion is made. Is there a second? Teacher?
Second.
Okay, first and second. Any comments or questions on the student activity? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
One more within curriculum is the conferences. Most of those were discussed at Education Committee. There are a few additions, so I'm keeping that separate in case there are any questions.
Okay. Is there a second on conferences?
Second.
Okay, teacher, second. Comments or questions? There's a few new items.
Yes. Go ahead.
Mr. Sirota?
I'm curious what the Dallastown Area High School visit and professional development that we are sending a number of teachers to. That one is new. What is that?
Good evening. Though not part of our conference requests at our education meeting, it was discussed. That is a team of 6th grade teachers going to visit Dallastown Area School District to take a look at a hybrid learning protocol that school district is using, and part of our see up close what the learning and teaching looks like that we've begun at Sandy Run Middle School.
You
Thank
spoke
you. Yeah,
about that
I
at the
remember
Education
that.
Committee?
Yeah, I do remember that now. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on conferences? We had a first, we had a second. Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Moving on to technology recommendations, and we do have two significant ones tonight.
So we have two technology recommendations. The first is to approve the yearly subscription of the Cisco SmartNet. And the cost of that is $25,210.44. And the second one is...
Should we do them separately?
Okay, we can do them separately.
Yeah, I think, because we may want to discuss a little bit more the Chromebook, the lease. So first one, is there a second? Second, Mr. Sirota? Okay, we had a first and a second. This is the first item into technology recommendations. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, moving on to the Chromebook
Okay,
lease.
so for the Chromebook lease, I move we approve a 3-year Chromebook lease with CIT, including new devices for rising 5th grade students and a device refresh for students entering 8th through 12th grade. The estimated cost is $28,195.60 per month for 36 months. And at this point, the lease is still subject to review and approval by the solicitor. So I don't know if, well,
Let's get a
wait
second
for a
first.
second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Kim, second. Okay. And then administration, any additional details or backup for this? Ms. Bray or Mr. Vinogradov?
Yeah, so we can tag team on answering some questions. So when we first presented this to Finance Committee, there was a question with respect to purchasing, just do a purchase, and then as opposed to leasing. And so I'll let Ms. Bray discuss both that delta, what that looks like, and she has a great calculus for how leasing actually lets us do more with the money we have currently and save over time. There has also been some changes. So we originally, when we presented, there was a plan to reduce that annual fee to $50 a year. And we're going to reduce that further. So it's just going to be a simple $25 to cover the insurance, with a student receiving an upgraded device every 3 years as insurance on that device expires. This is much more in line with what our peer districts are doing, right? We're sort of just treating that device like a textbook. It's going to get refreshed, and we wanted to really reduce that onus on our families. And so that will be that new paradigm going forward, and we'll be communicating that out to families very soon.
Ms. Bray, anything to add?
Surely.
I'm sure.
Typically, leases, instead of buying the devices, we do lease them over the years. So we plan to use them. And just as this is our first refresh, our first 3-year refresh. What's different really about this lease is that previously, because of debt service, we had it not be taxable, at least at the federal level. And because we're borrowing money for Sandy Run, we prefer that it not be this debt, because that's what it is, a lease is a debt, not be used to reduce our bank qualified borrowing, which we'll be going into later this summer. The reason for that is obviously any basis points, any preferential interest is helpful in the long term over 20 years rather than just over 3 years. And so we went to look at that. The reason why we have subject to review and approval by the solicitor, this is a little bit unusual. And so Mr. V and I have been working, well, actually he's been contacting the vendor to try to get the language change in the addendum or the master agreement. And tomorrow there's a conference call scheduled with Justin O'Donohue and the 3 of us, or the 2 of us, plus members from the CIT to work that out.
Yeah, it's not very often that someone says, no, I want to pay the taxes, please, right? And so that's just not something that lawyers at a finance company have in their wheelhouse. They're like, oh, okay, that's very different for a school district to do that, but it's not always that you're about to enter a large building project. And so it's the timing of those 2 things that creates a unique circumstance.
And one other point I should make regarding bank qualified, and you all will be hearing much more about this, but you may recall Ms. Doyle referring to bank qualified borrowing. That amount of money that's bank qualified, if we go that route, is also callable in 3 years, which gives us an opportunity to look at the interest rates on that particular debt. So we're trying to maximize the amount that we can have as bank qualified moving forward.
Any comments on that? Okay, teacher.
Quick question, the $25 a year for insurance, is that going to be sustainable for the next 3 to 5 years?
Can you clarify by sustainable?
Well, in other words, do we keep that $25 or are we looking at 50, 75 or more as we go down the road?
So the trend tends to be in reducing the fees, right? So when districts first started one-to-one, and they would charge an insurance fee, and those insurance fees range, anywhere between, and depending on the device, between $25 and $100, depending on the district. I think the goal overall, especially for those in instructional technology, is to reduce that burden as much as possible for our taxpayers, right? And also, and there are things that we pay fees on, like with kids in the district, right? I pay for a gym uniform, I pay for, et cetera, right? All those little fees. But we want to reduce that burden. And so when you take that step to reduce, we are looking ahead because you don't want to then increase, all right? Unless there's a significant cost increase somewhere. But I don't see that happening, right? We started with one device, and we're moving over to another device. This will cost the same as the original device did 3 years ago, right? So that's our price point. We get a lot more for that. We're not looking to go out and get the Lexus of Chromebooks or laptops, where you want a device that's functional for our instructional purposes. So we have that framework, and we can afford to reduce that fee.
Any other questions? I believe Mr. Vinogradov, just brief, can you state what we're looking at to purchase, the two options that we're giving our students, staff, and the board?
So the option for students is the same, right? So we have one device for kids, and it is a device that flips over into a tablet. It is waterproof, it comes with a case, super rugged, touchscreen, has an integrated stylus, and I think already just this year in our evaluation, there's this surprising organic workflow that happens when I can annotate on the screen. I can really sort of like treat it more like a notebook when I need to. For our math teachers, we have a tool we use called Pear Deck, and there's a lot of functionality that we don't use right now because trying to draw and annotate with a mouse trackpad is just really tough. But when I can just take my finger or the stylus, it's going to be super powerful. So there's a lot of excitement for that. We have a number of faculty who have asked for more screen real estate, right? So they spend a lot of time reading and giving feedback on student work. They prefer to do it digitally because the feedback cycle is faster, and they just want a few more inches. And so for those teachers, we've given an option to get because it costs the same, a 14-inch device that just has a larger screen. And so the adults, we asked, which would you prefer? We want our kids to all have the same functionality, because if I'm a teacher planning and I need them all to annotate and draw, I need them all to annotate and draw. But we told the adults you could have the same device as the kids, or you could have a larger screen, and the split there was about 50-50. And it's interesting, I've looked, do I see a pattern in the numbers? No pattern by subject area, no pattern by age, no pattern by gender. It's just this interesting 50-50 split.
Okay, thank you, Mr. V.
Can I just
Yep,
clarify
Mr.
that
Serrano.
that larger screen device that we're offering to the staff does not have the flip touch and touchscreen
No.
and stylus. It's just a larger one of these, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just larger so I can see more and just easier on, for those teachers who, now it's interesting, right, because a lot of English teachers who write and give a lot of feedback have chosen the smaller device with the stylus, right? So it's just about meeting that adult where they are in their workflow.
So the stylus is an actual device that can be lost?
It's a device that will be integrated and is easily lost by a child or adult. It'll disappear. And we can secure more. It's an absolutely fantastic item for a PTO to have in their school store. That will be a big win.
With the district logo.
Yeah, and then there will be, kids will personalize them, and then they won't want to use their stylus because they want the other one with the color, and yeah, it's just going to be a thing.
Okay, so this is the CIT Chromebooks lease. We had a first and we had a second. I see no additional comments or questions, so all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Moving on to the Pupil Services recommendations, Dr. Kim.
Yes, there's one educational service agreement, 3 educational placements, listed items A through D. I wish that we pass all of those.
Okay, we had a first, we had a second, Dr. Ludwig. Any comments or questions on the 4 items under Pupil Services recommendations? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, moving on to operations, Mr. Sirota.
We have 3 items on the agenda. All 3 of them are new. I will take them separately. First is our usual excess, obsolete, and non-repairable equipment. There are a total of 9 items listed in that form.
Okay, so under operations, we're looking at item A.
Second.
Motion was made, seconded by Ms. Rothman. Sarah? Any comments or questions?
I'll just comment. I always find it fascinating to
Yes.
read these items that are listed. In this particular case, there's only 9 of them. It's pretty short, and they're like obsolete is too weak a word.
Is being kind. Okay.
For these particular items.
Okay. First, second, one comment. Any, no other comments? All those in favor? Item A, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, moving on to B.
Second one is to approve, oh no, my screen is frozen again. Here we go.
Frozen again too.
Thank you. It is to authorize Breslin Ridyard Federo Architects to commence schematic design phase services in accordance with the agreement between the architect and the district. To clarify, this is the contract, not the plan that we are ratifying here.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Sarah. This is item B under operations and recommendations. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
Thank you. And the third item is for Spark Field turf replacement, to approve a contract with Sprint Turf in the amount of $708,177 for replacement of the synthetic turf at Spark Field. There were 3 bids received, and Sprint Turf was the least expensive.
Second.
And this is, we had first and a second. This is not a surprise. We've put money away for this. It's a shared contribution. Ms. Bray's getting ready to clarify what I'm trying to say.
Actually, it's an MOU that relates back to when Spark was constructed many years ago. We were anticipating, as the information from the township came through, that it was going to be much more than this. So we have $351,000 put away for the $185,000 that we're going to need to pay.
Okay. Thank you. So this is the Spark Field turf replacement. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Yes, Mr. Sirota.
I just want to clarify for everybody. So the motion is for the full price of the replacement of the turf. Our portion of that, as Ms. Bray indicated, is $185,000.
That is correct. What is reflected in the motion are the bids received by the township.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sirota, for that clarification. Any other comments, questions? Spark Field turf replacement? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Moving on to finance, Dr. Ludwig.
Okay, I will first take A and B, which are our monthly payments and the treasurer's report.
First and second on treasurer's report and payments and treasurer's report. Any comments or questions on those items? Okay, yes, sir. Mr. Rofsky.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Under payments, I think it's GF10. There's a, I guess it's a check. I'm new to this, so I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. There's a check there for $4,500 to Adam Dolan. What was that for?
I'm sorry, who was the payee?
It was for Adam Dolan, for $4,500.
I will need a couple of minutes to look that up, or perhaps I can get back to you.
Alan is a
5-8.
teacher at our middle school.
Oh.
He's probably a conference.
Mr. Sigafus just gave me the information. Thank you very much. Tuition reimbursement.
Okay. And the other one was, there's another one, Tony Gianmarco, 1362. Same
For
thing,
Tony.
tuition? Okay.
Probably tuition reimbursement.
Okay, and then, I had another question on, under the treasurer's report for the, food service. I couldn't help but notice there was a $17,000 loss for March. And, I'm wondering why the labor and salaries and benefits were up so much. I think the difference was $24,000 between February and March, and yet the food amounts were $2,000 less than in February.
There are two things that you're noticing. There were 3 pays during the month of February, which would make payroll much larger, the labor cost. In addition, I believe spring break was during the month of March, so we had fewer days for sales and activities.
But why was the benefits and labor costs? It was 3 pay periods?
There were 3 pay periods during the month of March.
Right, thank you. I don't know, am I doing that right, or do I email you these questions prior to the meeting?
I think what I would recommend for all board members, since our bill lists are so lengthy and there's so many, the content is so great, if there are specific questions that any of the board has regarding any kind of payments or anything regarding food service, that those questions, that would strongly recommend that you send them ahead of time and they can give you a complete answer.
Thank you.
That's for the whole board.
So that we're not scrambling quite so much.
Yep. Okay. Help me where we are. We did payments, we did treasurer's report. Did we? Oh, okay, so we're continuing. We voted on A and B. Okay, we did not vote. Okay. Okay, so we have, on the Finance Committee, we have items A and B, payments and treasurer's report. We had a first and a second. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? We are now moving to C.
Okay, a number of these items have been discussed previously at Finance Committee meetings, so at this point, I am going to take C through I. And I will just mention that one is payments to the North Hills Community Program, which we do every year. And we discussed at Finance Committee meeting, one is a contribution for the Medals Dinner to the Ed Foundation. 2 of them are for appraisals for properties that could be under reassessment, and 2 are settlements, one positive and one not positive.
Second was,
And the last one is budgetary
Amy?
transfers. That's okay. I have to turn the page.
okay, so this is C through I. Under the Finance, we had a first and we had a second. Any comments on any of those items? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Okay, now the final finance motion is to approve the 2018-19 proposed final budget. The budgeted expenditures, as we heard earlier, are $103,000, yes. Wishful thinking, $731,898, and to make this budget available for public inspection. The one other note with regard to this is that this budget represents a tax increase of 2.14, but it is not necessarily what we will end up on because there will be still some discussion about potential tax changes up or down to the tax increase. The maximum can be the Act 1 index of 2.4.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, Amy, second. First and second, comments or questions regarding the proposed final budget? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ludwig. We are moving to personnel, where we will continue the personnel. Amy?
So we've completed item A. Moving on to item B, the Insurance Protection Memorandum of Understanding. We've reviewed this in the past. If we can make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second for a second? Second. Okay, this is fairly unusual. That there's an MOU for, so perhaps Mr. Sigafus, do you want to explain why we have this motion here tonight?
Sure. We currently have an agreement with the teachers that takes us through next June 30th, 2019. So any change in that agreement has to be in the form of a memorandum of understanding. The consortium to which we belong has added an additional medical plan, Open Choice 3. It is a plan that has a deductible to it. Our other three plans do not have a deductible, so it's less expensive and has a lower actuarial value to give our employees the option to choose something that better fits their particular needs. It's not necessarily a negative thing, so somebody that's relatively healthy and doesn't need to have a zero deductible or go for many doctor visits may elect this plan and find that they can find more money in their paycheck by paying a lower premium. So since this is a new plan, we had to meet with the representatives of the Teachers Association and come up with an employee contribution rate that was acceptable to both them as well as to the board. So the employee contribution rate for this plan would be 9% compared to their other contribution rates to the other three plans ranging from 15 to 16% of the premium. So it's sort of a win-win for employees that choose to go to Open Choice 3 because the premium would be low for both of us, and that increased, that lower contribution rate by the employee could work to their advantage as well if they don't need all that coverage.
Okay, that's how I understood it. This is a win-win for everyone if the employee is okay to go into that plan. Okay, we had a first, we had a second. Okay, any other questions or comments on the MOU? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and then the rest of the personnel report?
Yes, item C. We've got 5 items. I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointments, resignations, change of status, leave of absence, and summer scholars and extended school year staff.
Excluding the appointment of Dan?
Correct.
Ortiz? Okay. Is there a second? Second. Sarah? Comments or questions? The remainder of our personnel. Just a quick, let me see if I can get to it, or Mr. Sigfus, maybe you would be a better person. We have some retirements after a number of years in the district. We would like to congratulate all of our staff that are retiring this year and wish them the very best in retirement. Do you have the names, Mrs. Sigfus?
Yeah. I do, and you're right. We're having a little bit of
We'll have
delay.
a
We have the names.
I have.
Okay.
We have the names.
Yep.
Amy, can you give us the names?
Sure. We have Albert Delangelo, guidance counselor at the high school, Sharon Bizio, math teacher at the high school, Michelle Hankin, librarian at Sandy Run.
Congratulations to all three. I know Al at the high school for a very long time, and he will be sorely missed, and so will our other teachers that are retiring.
Combined 60 years of experience with those here in Upper Dublin.
Yep.
From those three.
Okay. So the remainder of the personnel report. Okay, that's it. Okay, we had a first, we had a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Moving on to what? My policy. Trying to get back in.
I'll take it over for you.
Technology is great when it works. Okay. Sarah.
Thank you. So, first a report. We did something a little unusual since the last legislative meeting. We had 2 policy meetings. We normally have 1 monthly meeting. However, this month we had 2 meetings. Our regular meeting on April 23rd, which is a normal Monday meeting, but we also had a meeting on May 3rd. At that meeting, we had invited students, the Student Government Association representatives. We've been working with them for the last couple of months and encouraging them to see what a school board does and why policy is important. So we looked at specific student government policies. We sent them to the students ahead of time. They reviewed, sent in their comments and questions, and on May 3rd we had a meeting at the forum room here at the high school where we had a number of students attend, and we discussed and they gave us feedback, and we incorporated that feedback into a number of the policies that we see for first reading tonight. So in the future, I hope to engage with our student government again when we look at policies that directly impact them. So tonight we have first a few motions. This is for second reading and adoption for the policies, and for the administrative regulations, it is for approval. This is policy and administrative regulation 207, policy and administrative regulation 234, as well as 251, both the policy and AR, as well as policy 254, policy and AR. We also tonight have a number of first readings. These are all policies: 203, 203.1, 323/423, 523, policy 228, 229, 230, 232, 235, and 808.
Motion is made, seconded by Dr. Kim. Comments or questions regarding these policies, both first, second readings and our first readings? Quite a list tonight. Okay, and again, we would like to thank the SGA for meeting with us. Question?
That's what I was going to say. It was very productive and helpful and enjoyable to work with the SGA on these student-related policies. So very much appreciated. Hope we can continue that as going forward.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, motion and seconded for a policy tonight. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, moving to other business. This is a motion that we will make tonight. The motion is that the school directors listed above on our ballot sheet shall be elected to the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit of Directors as per the terms indicated on the document that we have. So we are actually voting tonight on this document, okay? And we'd like to thank Dr. Ludwig for representing us so well over at the MCIU. Motion is made. I made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, Sarah. Comments or questions on this document? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Okay. Do we need to complete this individually? No? One sheet? Okay. That's the school director. Okay, so we'll complete, you'll complete it, Brooke, and we're done. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to liaison reports. I hope I can see them. Yes, I do. Okay, yeah, on the liaison reports, Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, Dr. Ludwig.
MCIU met on April 25th, and most of what they covered is just normal business. There's one thing I think might be a little bit of interest to people, is that one of the things that we voted on was that 3 school districts joined the CPAS insurance group. I know we've talked before about people who have left Bucksmont, but we're seeing where some of them are going, and that was Jenkintown, Lower Moreland, and Upper Moreland. The only other thing that is going on of note is that the MCIU is moving forward in rehabbing the building that was their old building, and that is now housing pre-K and Head Start, among other things. So.
Okay. Moving on to Montgomery County Legislative Committee, Sarah?
Thanks. We didn't have a meeting since our last board meeting because we had the breakfast in April. However, there is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you. Eastern Center for Arts and Technology had its meeting last week, where we were very impressed with the first look enrollment numbers. Over 577 students and cards of interest to Eastern. However, we have a number of classes that are oversubscribed at this point that we will look at, but it's a significant higher number. I think it reinforces the opinion that many of us has that the work that our CTC does and that the interest of young men and women today and the excessive costs of college, that CTC's career technical centers do play a very good, important role in the education of many students. Moving on to the EAC, teacher.
All right, the EAC met on May 2nd, was a regular meeting, and the biggest item on the agenda is that on June 7th, that is a Thursday, there will be a joint meeting with the board to highlight the current topics: spelling, student feedback, enrichment, and the high school later start. All board members are invited, 7:30 in the media center.
And if I can correct the date of the MCIU Legislative Committee, it's not tomorrow night, it's Wednesday night.
Okay, we'll go back one to Excellence and Equity Steering Committee. Dr. Kim?
Sure, just a couple updates. On April 28th, we had the Applaud event, which was a collaboration with many of the township partners. There is work beginning to have it again in fall of 2019 to celebrate the tricentennial. In addition to that, on May 3rd, there was the Asian American Heritage Celebration and Dinner. That was a great event in which they also were able to honor Dr. Wheeler in terms of her retirement. I'll let her speak to that maybe perhaps. And then on May 24th, there's the African American Students and Families Committee meeting as well.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Yes, for those of you who were not in attendance, I was very touched at the presentation of a beautiful glass, I don't want to call it a trophy, it's almost like a sculpture, and engraved with a note of thank you from the Upper Dublin Chinese Association. And again, I want to thank the board for your wholehearted support of the equity work that we have been doing. It was really a point of cardinal pride. So thank you for that.
Okay, Pennsylvania School Boards Association, or PSBA. I am the district's liaison for that. Nothing to report except in August, beginning of August, there is a two-day conference that I will bring to the attention of the board and the superintendent. That perhaps we will be attending that conference with a few of us. A few of us will be there. Moving on to PTO, Amy?
On April 23rd, we had our joint PTO-PTA Speak leadership meeting. It is always both very well attended and a great opportunity for us to say thank you to our incredible PTO, PTA, and Speak volunteers, especially at this time of year when there are events rolling just about every night. And I know Dr. Wheeler mentioned that evening that she would recommend to Dr. Yanni that we continue this practice. That's been a really great way to capitalize on sort of disseminating best practices among the leadership groups and also giving help and support when we can. So thank you to all of our volunteer leaders in the PTO, PTA, and Speak.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Upper Dublin Township, Mr. Ofsky.
Okay, this was my first liaison meeting, and unfortunately, it's Dr. Wheeler's last liaison meeting, and I'm sure the committee will miss her leadership. We talked about, Breslin and Arif did a presentation to the committee about Sandy Run. We talked about permitting and stormwater management issues with the new building, possibly installing a new water service because the current one is only 6 inches, and I think the new building will require a larger diameter water service. Talked about the superintendent search. talked about assessment appeals. We talked about the road diet in the office park, the construction of the reconstruction of Virginia Drive, the trail system. We talked a little bit about the future events that were, the Medal Awards dinner, which is on Wednesday, and the future 300th anniversary of Upper Dublin Township. So we're in the planning stages of that, which we talked about at a meeting last week or Friday. But that was it, and the next meeting is going to be scheduled in September.
Okay, thank you, Stan. Upper Dublin Education Foundation, as Stan has indicated, this Wednesday night's the Upper Dublin Medals. You can still attend the event. Tickets will be sold at the door for $30. We'd like to congratulate our long-time educator, guidance counselor, Jack Fury, who's being recognized on the district side, and 2 students that we're recognizing, the YMCA, and Joe, of course. Joe Shimoleski will be recognized as citizen. So if you have not purchased your tickets yet, please, it's not too late. It'll be a great evening. Okay, moving on to the solicitor report.
Thank you. Executive sessions were held on April 10th, April 14th, April 21st, April 24th, all regarding the superintendent search, May 7th regarding personnel, and there will be a short, very short, executive session after this meeting tonight regarding litigation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Russo. We are now up to community input, part 2. If you'd like to address the board, kindly step up to the podium, state your name, and where you reside in the township's board policy. You are limited to 4 minutes.
Excuse me, Roland Lynn from Fort Washington. I came here to actually want to make a comment about the school safety and the recent parkland type of incidences. But I'm going to return just for a minute to the comment was made by the real estate agent that she's not the first one that has made comments before this board as to the nature of many houses that are being sold under value in Upper Dublin. And it was commented with regard to the assessment. That is from the standpoint of logic, your answer was necessary, but from the standpoint of logic, it was also insufficient. Because just because things are assessed at a lesser value and don't go down necessarily when a house is sold, it takes nothing to go over to Norristown, as I did, and when my house was purchased, pick up a piece of paper, write out a request for a change of assessment. It was immediately recognized that the house was sold for less value than what it was could have been sold at, or what it was assessed, former assessment. Nevertheless, the assessment was reduced to match the actual cost that was paid for the house. So from that respect, you will lose revenue in the Upper Dublin Township, because if an assessment is lowered by Norristown, you get less money. So will they do it? Perhaps they won't. But nevertheless, any good agent will tell a prospective buyer that they have that option available to them, and it will happen. But more important than that, I'm concerned about the fact that this board has the greater taxing ability than anybody else, certainly not the township and certainly not Norristown, with regard to the taxes that Upper Dublin people have to pay. You are the ones who are responsible for taxes, large taxes in Upper Dublin. I would suggest that, along with Edgar Guest, many of us who have been in the township, like the former real estate agent said, a 50-year resident, as I am a 50-year resident, some of us consider Upper Dublin our home, not our house. And our value of the house is not necessarily go along with the value that we place on being Upper Dublin residents. We have a love affair with where we live, and we want to stay here. Unlike so many, and I'm sure perhaps some of you, when our kids left the township from the excellent education that they got here, and they did get an excellent education, and I commend you for providing that for Upper Dublin people. But nevertheless, many of us didn't leave here and go down to Florida, where we pay where less taxes are assessed for living there. So let's be clear. You have a responsibility for the taxes that go into Upper Dublin. And furthermore, I noticed that some of the people on the board have, over the years, showed up at township meetings where we have, in addition to this strip mall on steroids called Promenade, where we get revenue to the township and then have those hundreds and hundreds of apartments behind it, and recommending to those on the school board to show up at the meetings and recommend to the township board members that they should approve those revenue-generating properties, only tend to make Philadelphia and Upper Dublin look more like Philadelphia. And that's the reason we moved out of Philadelphia, is because we didn't want to see the high apartments and the degradation that follows them. Anyway, think about it when a person says that you're partly responsible, if not largely responsible, for the value of the homes in Upper Dublin. Secondly, I noticed
Your time is up, Earl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen Kuznets, Fort Washington. I just wanted to follow up on some of that tax talk from the Realtor earlier. Part of Brenda's presentation was that we had an increase in property tax relief applications. I'm just curious, how much is that increase this year from last year? And then what were the number of appeals last year, the year before, and what are they now? Have those also increased as far as, assessments go? And then part of the presentation was transfer taxes are down, so I'm just curious. I know we were relying heavily on the Toll Brothers development, and most of that first phase sold over this last year. So we were anticipating that was going to get us all kinds of new revenue. So if our transfer tax is down, that didn't do it. So I'm just curious, as we talk and we move forward with Sandy Run and we're talking about future development projects, and I know we're technically not counting it, but I know we're keeping it in our back pocket. Does it make us reassess our game plan on, how we look at those kinds of things? The thing with the values of properties going down is people can reassess and appeal and file for it. So I just want to make sure that we're really realistic on that. I've had 4 clients just in the last 2 months tell me not Upper Dublin because the taxes are too high. And these are young families. Like, if you've lived in your house for 20 years, 30 years, and you're done paying your mortgage, the taxes might not seem like so much. But if you're a young family and every dollar counts, you're just going to go next door to Wissahickon, where you can get more house for less taxes, and a school district that is considered comparable, if not better, on paper. I'm not saying it's better. There's value in Upper Dublin being a small community. I think a lot of us recognize that. But people who aren't from here aren't in a hurry to move in here. And what I'm finding is a lot of people looking to list their homes are also talking about trying to appeal their taxes before they list it so that they can get those lowered so that their house is more marketable. So I think it's a real problem. I think it's something that we need to really think about. Thank you.
Jenny Vitale, Ambler. And I'm ditto on the taxes, but I'm not talking about taxes, so you're lucky. I just want to say first, we were late to the meeting, and that's unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen the awards given out. We were at the National Junior Honor Society, where over 180 sixth graders got inducted, 18 more 7th graders and 18 more 8th graders, and it was pretty cool to see all those kids that are really at high achieving levels and working hard for their community and for their schools and their grades. I was noticing the low enrollment, and what stood out is that 2 of the courses were accounting courses. And I took an Upper Dublin accounting course when I was here, and it just made me think about, I had heard recently, and I was going to follow up, but I might as well ask it here, is it true that basically after all our core courses and everything else in high school that we only get 1 elective each year. So am I leaving, so if I really think I love pottery, and if I really think I love accounting, do I only get to take pottery in 8th, 9th grade and accounting in 10th grade, and then I only get 4? And maybe that's why there's some low enrollment, because people have to only get one choice. If I had, maybe I could take a quarter of it without fully committing to the whole year, I might better see that. So that was my question, whether that's true fact, what I'm hearing. Also, I'm wondering, I'm hearing back in my olden days, apparently I didn't have to take gym because I played sports, and it's interesting that I hear that that's not the case anymore, and I hear that Abington does such a program where if you play a fall sport, for example, you don't take gym that trimester or that season, and then if you don't do anything in the winter or spring, then you take gym at that time. And I think this would be a fabulous way to help those kids that are going to work out, 2-3 hours. I know I'm swimmers in our family. They swim multiple laps and multiple hours, and I can imagine that being very taxing on their studies and everything else, and then to add gym to that when they clearly don't need the physical activity. Anyway, and apparently Abington's doing it. I wonder if we have thought about it. Also, for new Sandy Run 8th grade, information. I had to leave the education meeting early, so these are education questions. I apologize. So I have a rising, soon to be 8th grader, and so I'm very interested in that new program we're going to have on a certain team, and I wonder if we've ironed out the details, whether that's opt-in, opt-out, if it's just going to be random, you end up on that color team, and if there will be a parent information session at some point before that is committed on that team. And then also during that meeting, teachers were requesting things that we do not have in our current diagram of our new building in Sandy Run, which I found to be quite interesting, that we hadn't taken into consideration this new teaching style, because I thought that was the whole purpose of this new building, or bulk of it. And I wonder if there would be new meetings, or what the next steps are in the process of the building, and when the community is involved. And I know there's concerns about the bridges, the fact that there's still 2 buildings and a courtyard. Thank you.
Yes, Bill Swan, Glenside. Just a couple questions on things that went before. The $70,000 for the charter school tuition for the 18 students, is that a total cost, or was that just an increment? It's just under $4,000 for each student. If it's an increment, what is the total cost for the program and cost per student? Regarding the Chromebook lease, what happens to the Chromebooks already purchased? Do students keep them? They have to return them to get the replacement? How much would that be? And then also regarding the document I gave to Dr. Yanni on the solar eclipse, I just wanted to mention, since that's happening outside of the school year, there would really be no impact on curriculum or planning for the curriculum, and no impact on the existing exchange student programs. It'd be something that would probably be of interest to Spanish teachers, select students, and also earth science teachers and select students, if the district was interested in doing something together like they do with the business students who are having their trip this coming July, end of June, July. They would be paying it for themselves. It's not something that I would think that the district would be contributing to. It's just something that they would be notifying the students for, and perhaps with the weight of the district being able to get like a group discount or something. Thank you.
Jennifer Revelo, Ambler. Just a question on sabbaticals. What is the total cost to the district for sabbaticals? Are they capped? And what sort of comes into that figure? Thank you.
Okay, we'll close community input. Ms. Bray, any Anything you can help clarify on the property tax release, the number of appeals, the status of the Regency, closings?
Certainly. Well, we have about 20, I believe it is altogether, although we've settled 2 more tonight, so, and 1 last month, so I think we're around 17 appeals, but that's both commercial and that's primarily commercial. We really don't have that many residential appeals. I haven't looked at those. They're a relatively minor amount. Just to do a little bit of public information, appeals can't be filed at any particular time of year. They need to be filed by August the 1st of every fiscal or every year. And as far as our our real estate transfer taxes, the last 3 years, and in fact I know I've said publicly that I should stop saying that they are very rare occurrences, we have had REIT sales or transfers of several properties that were owned by Real Estate Investment Trust, usually out of state organizations in the Fort Washington Office Park. When we have commercial real estate selling, oftentimes that kicks off as, you know, several $100,000 a year. So we haven't had that occur in 1819. We've had a couple of commercial properties move, but nothing like previous years, and that's the reason why we're under what we have been. Certainly the Regency is nearly sold out. Those transfer taxes have come into play. Some of those properties have sold at rates sales prices much higher than what we thought. We've been trending and watching very carefully what the assessment value of those and noticing that the common level ratio isn't always as equitably applied as what we might like. But we don't do anything about that. So we spend a lot of time in the business office. I spend a lot of time tracking those amounts. Anything else? Dr. Leibowitz, I should be addressing?
No, on that topic, are there any other comments from the board or superintendent? Dr. Ludwig?
I'll just address the one comment about the promenade, because I was one of the people who supported that development. It seems to me that that is in looking at that, that was a very reasonable development for the location on a major street, Welsh Road. And I mean, we have across many years tried to say that there are various ways we can try to increase our revenue that are other than tax increases, and that is something to me that makes sense. If it is reasonable, I wouldn't support any development anywhere. If it is what seems like a reasonable development, I think it is in our best interest to support it, because it is an asset to the community and will generate revenue that will help us keep from raising our taxes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ludwig. Number of questions regarding the education side of the street. Ms. Morrison?
Yes, and good evening again. I'll begin with honors. I'm sorry, I apologize, with accounting. Accounting is alive and well in Upper Dublin. The reason for the low enrollment...
Very live and well.
Yes, it is. The reason for low enrollment is because those students you see there will be enrolling in our honors accounting. Honors accounting runs concurrently with accounting, and once students saw the opportunity that during the same session they could do honors accounting, that's what they'll be enrolled in. So I wanted to assure you of that. Your comment regarding the number of elective courses a student may take. At our high school, every student is required to take 5 full credit non-elective courses, and then has a 7-period day, along with 2 periods a week of physical education. That does leave quite a number of periods free for students to take elective courses. However, students sometimes also elect to take a study hall. In order to graduate, students must take 5 elective credits, which is more than 4 full years, and there's plenty of room in the schedule to do that. Additionally, we have 4 credits for English, 4 credits for social studies. When it comes to math and science, 3 credits. Each credit is equal to a year. There's room in the schedule for students who really have a passion for something that is along the arts and humanities, music, etc. So at this point, I think we feel very positive around our electives. I will say that we are considering taking a look at, as we do a continuous review process, partial elective courses, because it might give students a little bit more opportunity to taste some of the course offerings, of which I believe we have a fairly complete set for our students. You also commented regarding health and PE. That's something that it comes up every once in a while. Our athletes, would they be allowed to sit out a PE class, particularly students who are involved in our athletic program. I will say that our health and PE department really looks to tailor courses to what they consider life sports, life fitness, and wellness. And so, for example, this next year, one of the courses that students may take as a 2-day-a-week health and PE is weightlifting. Weightlifting is a very nice complement to the workout that's already happening, so there's some important attention given to that. But it's something that we always come back to and take a look at, so I appreciate that you've brought it up, and I'll pass it along and we'll discuss it again, so thank you for that. And then you also had comments regarding our personalized learning at Sandy Run Middle School, which you are right, early on as we began to investigate what personalized problem-based learning could look like, we thought initially we would have something like a school within a school. And we've had a team studying all year long, and our thinking has really evolved. One of the things that we realized when we went to visit some peer districts is that when you have a school within a school, it really doesn't there's not enough access for all, and we're a public institution, and we really care that all of our students are able to access. While we realized how important that was, our team of teachers interested in personalized learning also grew. And so now we have more than 20 teachers. You saw a lot of them here. And really, we have more than just a team's worth of teacher doing this work. Right now, across 8th grade in English and in mathematics, teachers are using personalized learning as ways to really heighten students' both desire and capacity to learn. And so there won't be an opt-in, there won't be an opt-out. We do have what we're calling our lead learners, teachers who've been part of this for the full year, and there will be professional development for them over the summer. But that goes beyond just a team of 4 teachers, and our hope and desire is really to have personalized project-based learning continue across all of the teams at the middle school.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Morrison.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Mr. Sirota.
Ava, what is our requirement for phys ed in terms of number of credits for graduation, and what is the state's requirement?
That is a great question. We require, I believe, I just read it and my screen has turned off already. We essentially require 2 health and PE classes, 0.2 health and PE each year, which is approximately 2 per cycle, with a third one in addition in 10th grade, and that's for health. And I am not sure what the state requirement is, but I can make sure that you get that information.
One other comment with regard to that. I do remember that at almost every senior forum we held when we were holding those while I've been on the board, that topic comes up. Do athletes have to participate in gym? So I guess I would support looking at that again. I mean, if we're going to try to take student voice into account, that's, this is a place where we often get concerns from students, and it seems legitimate to me.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and we will take another look at that.
On this topic,
Comments, teacher?
can I offer another perspective? Certainly we have had this discussion in our family for a number of years, and one of the comments that my own children always offered was that, the opportunity to go to phys ed classes was actually really welcome, even though they were full-time athletes, because that allowed them to interact with students that they might not normally see in some of their other classes. Plus, it was some form of downtime, which was really, really very popular. So just another perspective on that one.
Thank you for that perspective.
Pros and cons. It's something to look at. Regarding some of the questions in education, are there any, I know we have another. Okay, we also had questions about the Sandy Run Middle School, the plans, and some items that may not be in the plan. I'm not sure what we're referring to in that, Mr.
I think you're referring to large group spaces. So one of the things that we heard in the Education Committee presentation was the desire to get multiple classes together. The design of middle schools generally is difficult to accommodate that in. We do have some collaboration space built in on every floor, but not for like whole teams or that kind of thing. Whole teams would have to get together in the library, the gym, the auditorium, the cafeteria, those kinds of large spaces. The challenge with designing large spaces like that into the building, well, there's multiple challenges. Cost is really the largest one. They don't get high utilization, and building large spaces, large square footage for low utilization is it's expensive. That's part of the challenge. Part of the challenge is our Act 34 credits, getting enough Act 34 credits in the design. So the school code mandates certain aspects of design and cost as a relationship. So you don't spend money needlessly is what they're trying to prevent you from doing. Their definition of needlessly is perhaps different than modern education might define, but that is the current school code, so we have to follow it. And that's what I meant in that meeting when I said we might be stymied a little bit by school code. But certainly we are taking that into account. This team has been working for a year and a half, I don't know, a long time. That's about right, right? And we have been, and several of us who are working on the building have also been involved in that process, and we are taking that into account all along. The next steps on the building, we're still in the process of finalizing the schematic design. We'll have a presentation about that on Thursday night from the architects at the operations meeting. The goal is to have the footprint nailed down, hopefully at that meeting, so that we can send that off to land development, because land development is the longest lead time item and we want to get that started. After that, we will get into designing the real design of the interior spaces, not just empty rectangles, and we will that'll take the next year or so before we get out to bid.
Dr. Wheeler?
And I just wanted to supplement what Mr. Sirota said. That is when we will actually be meeting, although we have started meeting with groups of teachers and groups of community members, et cetera, local sports organizations. Over the next year is when we will really sit down with teachers by content area and start designing their specific areas of the building. So that has not happened. We've been getting more general information from them, but it's a continuous process, and it will become more refined over the course of the next 12 months or so.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. The $70,000 regarding charter schools, I believe, is an increase?
It's an estimate of the increase, yes,
Right.
for the charter schools for the balance of this year. We also have an increase for next year. I believe he asked for the cost of regular ed. The current calculated amount for regular ed charter schools, $16,058, and special education is $33,980. As it stands right now.
$33,000 regardless of what the classification would be, that they get reimbursed $33,000.
That's correct. That's the tuition we pay. Mrs. Clay?
I'd just also like to supplement that with some information about our surrounding districts in Montgomery County. While 18 sounds like a lot of students going to charter school, when we take the 10 schools that we compare ourselves to within Montgomery County, They range anywhere from 7, which is Lower Moreland, all the way up to 169 at Springford, and everywhere in between, 121 North Penn, 30 Hatboro Horsham. So when you start to look at the other districts, 18 isn't that bad.
Okay, Mr. Vinogradov, the old Chromebooks, the plans for them? They just fade away now.
Yeah, so this week, an email will be going out to families. Some historical context, right, even though it's only 3 years into the program. When we started, we had a model where we charged, families paid a $70 fee. It covered insurance, and the idea then was ownership at the end of 3 years. And part of that was out of necessity to jumpstart the program. We're in a different financial place and a different lens on budgeting around instructional technology. At the end of 3 years, there's not really a lot of residual value left in these devices, and the tech has really moved along. So it's a shift in a paradigm where we're just moving to an insurance fee, and the family won't own the device at the end. They're just going to trade it in and upgrade, and we'll just have that base fee. But for all of our families that were part of this original cycle, so that's everyone in 8th grade through 7th grade through 12th grade right now, and then again, the class of 2024 and the class of 2025, right, will all have this option at the end of their 3-year cycle to either trade in their existing Chromebook and we'll waive the fee, the insurance fee for next year, or we will deprovision that device. So if they do want that personal device, to use that Chromebook as a personal device at home for the family, for any number of reasons. So all the families will have those options. An email will be going out to explain what we're doing moving forward and why we've reduced the fee. And then you'll have those 2 options. And in July, families can come in and either have a deprovision if they want to use it as a personal device. That means we remove management, we remove filtering. Or if they want to come in August and do a simple trade-in at the time they pick up their new Chromebook and we waive that fee. We're working with a reseller who will then buy the old Chromebooks for $25. So it's an even swap.
Okay, thank you, sir. Question regarding sabbaticals.
Yeah, teacher sabbaticals are actually defined in our Pennsylvania school code, and teachers that have 10 years of satisfactory service in the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and at least 5 years in Upper Dublin are eligible for a sabbatical. Looking into next year, the deadline for fall sabbaticals was March 1st, so we have 3 teachers that are eligible. It's not only in the school code, but also in the teacher's contract. There is a limitation of 10% of the teachers eligible for sabbatical that can be approved. 3 is well below those that would be qualified. But when it comes to determining the expense, when a teacher is on sabbatical, they receive half of their salary and full benefits. You have to then add to that the teacher that you bring in for the teacher that's out on sabbatical. So that teacher's salary and benefits. In addition, the teacher that's out on sabbatical, even though they're receiving half the salary, they still pay the full PSERS contribution rate, and so does the district on the full whatever the salary would have been. So those are the expenses that typically go in to those calculations. That's why I work very closely with Ms. Bray in the business department, Mrs. Baldessano as well, and we have to look at, okay, the teacher salary and benefits that's going out and teacher salary and benefits that are coming in and what that PSERS contribution is as well. But our obligation to follow the school code and the teacher's contract are under those provisions.
Thank you, Mr. Sigafus. Any other responses from the board regarding the community input, part 2? See none. We are up to comments, final comments from any board members. Okay, Dr. Kim.
Just a quick one. Tomorrow is primary election day, and just want to remind the community to go and exercise your right to vote.
Thank you, sir. Any closing comments from the superintendent? Nope. Just, oh, teacher, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I just want to thank Mr. Vinogradov and a lot of the teachers who participated in the Applied Digital Skills Workshop. It was held here in this room on Saturday. A lot of teachers, or a large number of teachers were here, and I thought it was very impressive that we did not just see teachers, but also Director of Transportation and a secretary, I believe, in student service, no, special education. That really is a testament, I think, to the direction where the district is going in the area of technology. And I look forward to more of these.
Yes, and teacher, I know you participated. You were there for all morning. I stopped by for a half hour to just check out the event, and it was unbelievable. It was what was going on. I was very proud of everybody who participated. Any other closing comments from the board or superintendent? A reminder that operations and finance this Thursday, policy and education will be on May 29th. Policy is at 1:30, education is at 6. And our next legislative meeting will be June 4th. We have 2 legislative meetings in June. June 4th is the first one. And seeing no, June 14th is the second? Okay, June 14th is the second. And is there, seeing no new business or any business to the board, is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Sarah, any second? Who's that? Ken? Robert, okay, sorry. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye, anyone opposed? Okay, I ask the board to please go right to the media center so we can have a brief executive session. Thank you for coming.